Hi there. I'm writer, science communicator, and professional killjoy Rebeccawatson. You've been sent this video because you used a logical fallacy in an online slap fight, thereby invalidating at least one of your points. The logical fallacy you use today is the ad hominem fallacy. An ad hominem, Latin for to the person, fallacy occurs when you try to rebut a point by attacking the person making the point instead of attacking the point itself. An example would be saying you're wrong about immigration because you're a liberal. Being a liberal might make a person more susceptible to being wrong about a certain topic, but it doesn't actually address the argument that the person is making. Here are a few examples of the ad hom fallacy in real life. First up, Reza Aslan wrote a book about Jesus Christ and then went on Fox News to talk about it. The host, Lauren Green, starts off the interview with and then continues to repeat throughout the criticism that Aslan's book about Jesus must be wrong because he, the writer, is a Muslim.
Well, this is an interesting book. Now, I want to clarify, you're a Muslim, so why did you write a book about the founder of Christianity?
Well, to be clear, I am a scholar of religions with 4 degrees, including one in the New Testament and fluency in Biblical Greek, who has been studying the origins of Christianity for 2 decades, who also just happens to be a Muslim. So it's not that I'm just some Muslim writing about Jesus. I am an expert with a PhD in the history of religions. But I have been obsessed with Jesus.
Though, it still begs the question, why would you be interested in the founder of Christianity?
Because it's my job as an academic. I am a professor of religion, including the New Testament. That's what I do for a living, actually. So, I mean, it would be like asking a Christian why they would write a book about, Islam. I'm not sure about that. But honestly, I've been obsessed with Jesus for really 20 years. I've been studying his life and his work and the origins of Christianity both in an academic environment and in a personal level for about 2 decades. And just to be clear, this is not some attack on Christianity. My mother is a Christian. My wife is a Christian. My brother-in-law is an evangelical pastor. Anyone who thinks that this book is an attack on Christianity has not read it yet.
But I want to read you some quotes from some people who are criticizing you. One from John Dickerson, who has written an op-ed piece on FoxNews.com, and he says, it's not a historian's report on Jesus. Is it an educated Muslim's opinion about Jesus? He says its conclusions are long-held Islamic claims, namely that Jesus was a zealous prophet type who didn't claim to be God.
Well, that's actually not what Islam claims about Jesus. My book about Jesus overturns pretty much everything that Islam also thinks about Jesus as well. And to be clear, I just want to emphasize this one more time. I am a historian.
Next, alt-right polemicist Steven Crowder was recently tricked into debating the Majority Report's Sam Seder, and instead of debating, his reaction was a non-stop series of ad homs. First accusing the host, Ethan Klein, of being abusive towards women, and then insisting that Sam Seder has weird eyes. No, seriously.
Oh no, Sam Seder, what a fucking nightmare. I had no idea this was going to happen. I thought Ethan was a stand-up guy. This is where we are. Yeah, I told Dave, remember I told you? I said, I guarantee you he's going to do anything he can to avoid the debate.
Well, I just think he believes that he should debate you.
No, he doesn't. He just takes advantage of women with, mental health issues. Ethan Klein doesn't stand up and do his own fighting. I gotta say, it's just hilarious. Let's bring on FM.
You would do anything to avoid talking to me. I think the point that you made
is Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and Noam Chomsky and Sam Harris. Everyone's been avoiding.
And not just attempting to get your audience by jumping in.
Well, I debated with Charlie Kirk. Stephen, I mean, it's about issues. Let's talk about those issues.
That's what you're doing here.
Valid points.
You're so clever. I had no idea that you were taking your show off early last time, coming in today with your pig pen peanuts eyes.
I wish everything.
You take those off with a velveteen buttons.
We must have been very worried about this, Stephen. I don't know why.
No one's worried about it, Sam. I didn't want to do it.
Let's have the debate.
Hey, Sam, one thing before I go. Can you take off your glasses?
Stephen,
hold on.
One thing before I go. Can you take off your glasses?
We just want to see.
I just want to see if you take them off. If you have the velveteen rabbit buttons. That's the only thing I'm curious about. It's the only interesting part about it.
Or if there's a soul.
Let's debate.
Take off the glasses.
Let's debate, Stephen.
Don't hide behind the glasses.
Don't be a coward.
Don't say let's debate, Ethan. You've lost
coward.
Debate
the issues. What does it matter who you debate, coward?
All right, good. You guys are good. Thank you.
Coward.
Won't even take off the glasses.
I was right.
All right, yeah. You can run away.
You run away twice. Cold feet again.
Finally, climate change denier Michael Knowles went on television to attack the science of anthropogenic global warming by saying this.
None of that matters because the climate hysteria movement is not about science. If it were about science, it would be led by scientists rather than by politicians and a mentally ill Swedish child who is being exploited by her parents and by the international left.
Also, please note how the other guest on that show, Chris Hahn, responded to Knowles.
She's trying to do what attacking the left for exploiting a mentally ill child.
Now, relax, skinny boy. I got this, okay?
Is that an ad hom fallacy? Well, maybe. Here's where it gets a little complicated. Chris Hahn calling Michael Knowles a skinny boy is an ad hom, but it's an ad hom attack. He was attacking the person, not the argument. But is that a fallacy? Not necessarily. Strictly speaking, a logical fallacy is a logical inconsistency. So saying you are wrong because you are stupid is a fallacy because B does not necessarily follow from A. Stupid people are actually right all the time. However, saying you are wrong and you are stupid is not logically inconsistent. You've just made two statements that you can independently support if you'd like. In Chris Hahn's case, he goes on to point out that Knowles is attacking a child, which is his entire point. The fact that Knowles is also a skinny boy is irrelevant. Making an irrelevant ad hom may not be a fallacy in the strictest sense, but it can be an effective rhetorical device, which is why it's used so often. I'll take an example from my own life. In 2020, journalist Nick Cohen tweeted concerns about trans women being predators of cis women. I could respond to that with statistics showing the extreme rarity of anyone using trans rights to abuse cis women, but I happen to know that Cohen was making an extremely hypocritical argument. So instead, I went with two different types of ad hominem attacks in my reply. One was relevant to my argument, that Cohen is a hypocrite. He once grabbed my ass in a pub, and when I expressed mild shock about that, those around me informed that that's just what Nick Cohen does. As an ad hominem, it doesn't address whether or not trans people are predators of cis women, and that wasn't my point. It merely puts the lie to the idea that Cohen honestly cares about people who are predators of cis women. I also included an irrelevant ad hominem attack that Nick Cohen is a Marshall Applewhite looking fuckface. That isn't technically a fallacy, as I'm not arguing that Cohen is a hypocrite or that he's wrong because he looks like the cult leader who organized the mass suicide of the Heaven's Gate cult in 1997. I'm merely using it as a rhetorical flourish, pointing out that in addition to being a hypocritical perv, he also looks like a creepy cult leader. While it's not a fallacy, it is technically a rhetorical attempt to bias people further against Nick Cohen, which is why you should still understand what an irrelevant ad hominem is, even when it's not a logical fallacy. So you know to disregard it instead of letting it influence how you feel about another person's argument. You should also understand that in an argument with some people, if you toss out an irrelevant ad hom, you risk your opponent yelling, "That's an ad hom. I win this argument," even though it wasn't a fallacy and they didn't win. You've just given them the opportunity to dismiss every valid point that you may have previously made. So you don't have to avoid ad homs entirely, but you should use them judiciously. And save this video in case someone you are arguing with makes an actual ad hom fallacy or accuses you of making a fallacy that you didn't actually commit. Thanks so much for watching this first video in an occasional series on logical fallacies. I created this series because my patrons hit a sponsorship goal over on Patreon. They aren't being charged for these extra videos, but they are the reason that they exist. So I wanted to give a shout out and let them know I appreciate them. They'll also be getting these videos earlier than everyone else because of that. So thank you to my patrons and thank you to everyone else who's watching. If you have some good examples of ad hom fallacies, go ahead and leave them below. Also, let me know if you have any requests for particularly juicy fallacies you'd like me to explore in the future.